Welcome, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science. Welcome to our Thursday evening self-healing class. Whether you're joining here on Zoom, as many of you are, or signing in later on Facebook, YouTube, Insta, or X, we're glad to have you here with us. This is a sacred space where we come together from all over the country, all over the world, to explore healing, growth, and transformation, using the timeless principles of Louise Hay and the science of mind. This is a space for us to reconnect with the infinite power within and to take practical steps towards the lives that we all want to live, the lives that we want to create. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you about our other opportunities for connecting throughout the week. If you're new, first of all, welcome. We meet every Wednesday at 7, where Jimmy will facilitate our creative living series. This is a class where we focus on the practical tools for living a spirit-filled and inspired life. Sunday mornings, 10:45, we meet for our meditation, followed by our service, which is approximately 11 o'clock. So start your week with a guided meditation with us on Sunday, and/or join with us in our other activities. And of course, our Thursday evening is our Louise Hay class, self-healing class where we explore personal transformation and empowerment through the teachings of Louise Hay. There's no charge to attend any of our gatherings. However, if you do feel inspired to support the work we do at First Church, there's always options you'll notice in the chat room on your screen. Your generosity helps us continue reaching out and helping more and more people with these teachings, and we're really grateful for your contributions. So whether you're supporting us financially, or some of you are active social media, or you like and you join our channel on YouTube, all of it's helpful. It all makes a difference. Your presence is a gift to us. It all makes a difference. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for your support. So before we move in today's lesson about our power to heal, our power to transform, let me share a story with you that I think beautifully illustrates the power within to create healing and transformation. I remember a story of a young woman who inherited an old farmhouse from, I think it was her great aunt, if I remember right. And the house was beautiful, but it was dark, didn't have a lot of electricity in it, heavy curtains covering the windows. And when she got it, it didn't have any initially electricity. She lived in the home feeling frustrated, stumbling around in rooms that weren't very well lit, stumbling over furniture, and longing for all the improvements that she would one day make. One day, while she was exploring the attic, she found, among other things, an old kerosene lamp, which was tucked away in the corner under the rafters. And she thought, well, God, at least this might help. So she got it downstairs, and she wondered if she could make it work. So she cleaned it up, cleaned it out, and polished it up with some type of cleaner, and she found inscribed in it an inscription, which was cool. It says, "The light is already within you." Intrigued, after she had it all cleaned up and fueled it, she struck a match and she lit the lamp, and instantly the room filled with a warm glow. And for the first time, she could see the inner beauty of the space around her, which, as I said, the room didn't have much light before. None of the rooms did. She could notice the color of the walls, the details of the furnishings, and the path forward. She realized the light had always been there, waiting for her to uncover it and put it to use. So this story reminds us that we too have a light within us, an infinite power that's already present, ready to illuminate our lives as well. But like the lamp in the story, it requires our participation. We have to uncover it somehow. We have to clean it off. clean off the doubts and the fears that obscure the light, and then take the action of lighting it. As Louise wrote beautifully, in the infinity of life where I am, all is perfect. Again, in the infinity of life where I am, all is perfect, all is whole, and all is complete. I now choose to rise above old limitations and express my greatness. I now choose to rise above all old limitations, and I express my greatness, my magnificence. This is the heart of tonight's lesson, discovering your own power and beginning to put it to work, beginning to step into the light that's been within you from the very beginning. So, to set the stage for tonight's exploration, let's revisit some of the key ideas expressed in Louise's book, especially the points of her philosophy outlined in part 1. Louise starts out by saying, we are each responsible for our own experiences. This point can feel challenging, but it's also incredibly empowering once you realize I am responsible. I am cause to my own experience. She isn't saying that we're to blame for the circumstances of our life. So when I first read that when I was younger, I would think, I'm to blame for everything. When she says we're each 100% responsible, she's not suggesting blame. There's no one to blame. Instead, she's reminding us that we have the power to shape our future through the choices we make, the thoughts we make, the thoughts we hold. And that ties back to Science of Mind, where Ernest Holmes said this perfectly. He said, the universe is impersonal. It gives alike to all. It is its nature to impart. So then Dr. Holmes was trying to say the nature of the universe is to impart, to give. It gives impersonally to king and beggar and king. The universe continually imparts and gives itself. So again, Holmes's important quote, the universe is impersonal. It gives to everyone. Its nature is to give, to impart. And our nature always is to receive. And in the Louise Hay work, she'll ask you, what are you approaching the ocean of life with? And she'll ask you, what's your size is your container? Do you have a lot of great positive expectancy or not? And she'll bring you through an exercise where she'll imagine you approaching the ocean of life, and she'll ask you what kind of container, what size of container do you have? Because the universe will give to you according to your belief. So we learn to develop bigger containers. Dr. Holmes expands on this idea when he writes, life is a mirror, and it will reflect back to the thinker what they think into it. Again, this is all very simple, as Louise would say. Life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what they think into it. If our thoughts are rooted in fear and worry and doubt, you're all caught up in anxiety, you're glued to the TV, and you're just caught up in what's wrong everywhere. If this is what you're doing to yourself, it's going to reflect back this stuff to you. So, in religious science and our teachings, we really suggest be kind to your mind and remember that you're the author of your experience. You get to choose what you entertain. You get to choose who you hang out with. You get to choose how much information and what kind of information you allow into your world. It makes sense. If you're consuming large amounts of scary information, fearful thinking, and doubtful thinking, you're planting into your consciousness these ideas. The next point that comes up in Louise Hay's book, which you've heard me talk about over and over, is to remember that whatever you're dwelling on, or whatever you're thinking about, whatever problem you're going through today, Louise would say it's only a thought you're having about something, and a thought can be changed. So whatever it is, we've all got things going on that you might be concerned about. You might be letting it rent space in your head or something. Remember, it's only a thought you're having, and a thought can be changed. So we have the power to change the way we think about anything, really. One of my favorite lines over the years is, I could see peace instead of this. So no matter what it is that's got you or that you're allowing to get to you, remind yourself it's only a thought you're having, and a thought can be changed. You have the power to change your thinking. And this is a very liberating concept because it reminds us that no matter how deeply ingrained a belief may be, you have the power, you do have the power to release it. You do have the power to choose a new thought or see it in a new way. Ernest Holmes famously said, change your thinking and you will change your life. Again, change your thinking and you will change your life. And this, of course, is the essence of transformation, changing your thinking. Recognizing that the thoughts that you have are not permanent. Your thoughts are fluid, and your thoughts can be redirected toward healing and possibility. I'd like everyone, just for a moment, to reflect on a couple ideas. Take a second or two to identify any limiting belief that you've been nursing, or it could be a grudge, or it could be some resentment, or some false concept that you have, something you're holding on to that would suggest you're not okay, or someone else is not okay, or someone's not supplied and supported, or that you are not. I'd like everyone just for a moment, take a second or two to identify any limiting thought that you've been hanging on to about yourself or someone else. And now I want to ask you the question, what would it feel like if you could release it once and for all? What would it feel like if you could just replace the thought with a different thought, a thought that uplifts and empowers? What would it be like if you could just let that go? What would it be like if you could replace I'm not okay, I'm not good enough with I'm worthy, I'm good, I'm whole, I'm complete? So this is the heart of our lesson, putting it to work, where we take the principles of self-love, radical self-love and forgiveness, where we refuse to be critical of ourselves, and where we refuse and release the need to be critical of others, and where we put it all together and turn all this into tools for healing and growth. Together, we're exploring how to use these ideas to create a life that reflects the love and the power that's within us. So let's take this wisdom again and apply it. There is an old saying in religious science circles, which is inspiration without application is, I think it was hallucination. In other words, it's not enough just to be inspired. We really at some point need to put some of this to work. And that's really what the third section of Louise Hay's book is all about. The third part is called Putting the Ideas to Work. Louise guides us through practical ways to bring forth healing and harmony and abundance into all areas of our life, our relationships, our work. So let's begin by grounding ourselves in a core principle. This is something everybody learns in any new thought class. The principle is as within, so without. You've heard it said in different lessons in different ways. It's the law of cause and effect. Whatever is going on inside of me is reflected outside of me. My life is a reflection of my consciousness. So that's a principle I hope everybody, to varying degrees, is learning to embrace. If it's in my life, my external life, my day-to-day experience, it exists within me. So I'm doing it the other way. As within, so without. So what we're attempting to do always is to work on self-healing. We're working with our own consciousness. We're not doing our work on the outer, we're doing our work on the inner. As within, so without. The experiences we attract into our lives are always a reflection of our own inner dialogue, our own inner understanding. The experiences we attract in our lives are reflections of our own beliefs and our own consciousness. So by shifting what's happening on the inside, we will transform what shows up in the outside. This doesn't mean we're not going to make mistakes. because I'm going to tell you we will make mistakes, and that's okay. That's part of learning and growing. And just because we've made mistakes, as you've heard me say in other lessons, it doesn't mean that we are a mistake. It means that we're all here growing, we're evolving, we're evoluting, if you want to call it that. There's different ways to describe it, but we're always becoming more. Who you are today is greater than who you were 5 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. You are a spiritual being, and you are evolving. And the people that you know in your world are also. And everything's in divine order, so we can take a lot of comfort in knowing that we're spiritual beings, we're here, we're learning, we're growing. Every situation we've experienced has been victorious in one way or another, because it's brought you to a higher place of understanding. Every step, even the most challenging ones, has brought you closer to the truth of who you are. And let's take a look at relationships for a moment. There's a teaching point there. This is tied into the idea, in truth, there's nothing outside of you. The way we show up with people is very much related to the relationships that we have with ourselves. Louise Hay teaches us that harmony in relationships starts when we stop looking for others to change and focus instead on transforming our own consciousness. She reminds us that there is no one outside of you. The people we interact with are reflecting something back to us they're reflecting something back to us about our beliefs, about our expectations, and again, about our inner dialogue. In religious science, we understand that we are the creators and the authors of our own experience. So when we ask, what am I creating this person to be in my life? When we do it that way, we are reclaiming our power. So it isn't about blame. It's about recognizing always the role of our thoughts and our beliefs in shaping our relationships. So over the years, I've stopped pretty much talking about what they're doing. It's more useful to you to reflect on what you're creating them to be, because then you become the author of your own experience. It's a good question to ask yourself. What am I creating this situation to be? What am I creating this person to be? This is a good way to reclaim our power. I have a little exercise for you along these lines. Think of a person in your life with whom you felt tension or conflict in the past or in the present. Take a moment to think about it, maybe jot it down. Any belief you have about the person or that you've had about the person. For example, you might say, they never listen to me, they never would listen to me, they're always critical, or anything else. Now ask yourself, are these beliefs creating the version of this person I'm experiencing? And or how can I shift my thoughts about this person to create harmony? What could I do to change the way I think about this person to create harmony? What new way can I think about them? So those are good questions to ask about yourself. You're not expecting them to change. You're asking yourself, how can I shift my thoughts? I could see them differently. How would I see them differently? How can I shift my thoughts about them to create greater harmony in my world? What new way, again, can I think about them? And here's a couple affirmations for you after you've answered those questions for yourself. I now choose to see the good in them, or I choose to see the good in everyone I meet. I release judgment and I choose compassion. I release any judgment I've had and I choose to see this person with compassion. Another affirmation, all my relationships are harmonious. All my relationships are harmonious. Louise often reminded us, as you've heard me say many times before, everyone's doing the best they can with the information, the understanding, and the awareness that they have. This is such a big concept. Yes, you're letting them off the hook. You're letting yourself off the hook. You're freeing yourself from all that energy that, that's been holding you back. What would it feel like to approach your relationships with that level of compassion and grace, where you realize, namaste, you realize that they've all done the best they could with where they were at? Those are good questions to reflect on. Louise teaches us that love begins always within. If we want to attract love into our lives, and I think most of us are wanting to come from a more loving place. So she's teaching us, if we want to attract love into our lives, we must first cultivate it in our own consciousness. She reminds us, your consciousness will always match what you attract. This is really a big statement. If you really are a loving, happy person, it will show up, it will reflect. She reminds us that your consciousness will always match what you attract. So if you're all screwed up inside and you're full of anger and pain and resentment, it's not about being good or bad, it's just what will reflect. So we want to be the author of our own experiences. We want to redirect our thinking. Now, the more you fill yourself with love, the more love you'll see reflected in your relationships. So Louise would say it's all very simple. It is. The more you fill yourself with love, the more love you'll see reflected back in your relationships. Again, as within, so without. If you do that inner work in yourself, I love, accept, and approve of myself, you might say, in front of the mirror, to your image in the mirror. The more you do this, the more you fill yourself up with self-love, those vibrations become reflected in your life, in your relationships. When we shift our inner dialogue from one of self-love to one of self-love and self-acceptance, then we're going to naturally attract love and harmony. I've got yet another exercise that you can either do it mentally or write it down on a piece of paper. Think about, or write down if you desire, or rather, think about what you might want in a relationship, or write it down. Any kind of relationship. It could be a sibling, it could be a love relationship, it could be anything. Think about what you desire to happen in that relationship. Most people would want kindness. They would want support, and they would want joy and harmony in relationship, for example. And you could ask yourself, am I offering these qualities? So think about things you want in whatever relationship it is, and then ask yourself, am I offering these qualities to myself? So you're turning it from what you're looking for in the other person, and ask yourself, am I offering these qualities to myself? Am I giving myself self-love, compassion, unconditional support? So whatever you're seeking outwardly with another person in any kind of relationship, ask yourself, am I offering these qualities to myself? So choose one of these qualities to focus on, perhaps for a week. For example, if you want kindness in your relationship with whoever it is, practice speaking kindly to yourself during that week. You might use affirmations like, I'm worthy of love and kindness. I radiate love and I attract loving relationships. How do you think your relationships would change if you treated yourself with the same love and compassion you'd like to receive from these other people? Now let's shift to our work for a moment, our jobs, or wherever we spend our time. You might work as a volunteer. When it comes to any of these endeavors, in the world, our jobs, what we do, Louise reminds us to affirm, I'm deeply fulfilled in everything I do. Again, I'm deeply fulfilled in everything I do. This is a great affirmation and a reminder that fulfillment isn't about what we do, it's about the energy that we bring to our actions. Whether we're working, volunteering, or pursuing hobbies, it's about the energy we bring to our activity, our actions. And the key is to align ourselves with joy and purpose. There's a religious science principle where we understand that the work we do is an expression of spirit flowing through us. When we bring gratitude, when we bring love to our actions, even the smallest things we do become sacred activities. Now, I'd like you to consider taking a moment to think about how you're spending your time and how you're spending your precious energy. Are you aligning in your day-to-day activities? Are you aligning with what brings you inner joy and fulfillment? If you're not, what do you think you could do to bring more joy and fulfillment into your day-to-day living, more purpose or more positivity? What comes to mind? Because if you're going to work and you're just like feeling like it's drudgery and you're not bringing anything with you, probably you want to change that. So what comes to mind when we ask the question, are you aligning when you're spending your days and your time? Are you aligning with what brings you joy and happiness? So what could you do to bring more joy, more happiness in your day-to-day living? What comes to mind? And whatever it is, here's an affirmation for you. I bring joy and purpose to everything I do. Yes, I bring joy and purpose to everything I do. Followed by Spirit expresses through me and all that I do. Again, Spirit expresses through me and all that I do. What would it feel like to see your daily activities, even the small ones, as fulfilling, fun, and sacred expressions of Spirit? Imagine that. If you could see your daily activities, even the small ones, as fun, more fulfilling, and sacred expressions of Spirit. Those are good questions. Seeing yourself, everything you're doing, as a spiritual activity, because it is. The next point I want to talk about briefly is all of us are evoluting. As Dr. Bill, one of my teachers, used to say, it's like we're all spiritual beings, and we're all here on planet Earth to grow, to evolve, and to express ourselves. So we're growing, and Louise Hay said the same thing. She reminds us that every experience is a stepping stone to greater success. Every single one. We trust the process of life. We recognize that that every challenge and what looks like a setback is really part of our growth. So here's a new thought principle for you to think about now. Spirit is always, always expanding and working out for our highest good. Again, Spirit's always expanding and working out for our highest good. When we understand that life is unfolding perfectly, when that's your spiritual understanding, then you're going to be able to release the resistance. You're going to be able to embrace lessons in the experiences. And then you will be able to trust the process of life more and more. I have a couple affirmations to help from Louise. Louise would say, I go from success to success, and I go from glory to glory. Again, I go from success to success and glory to glory. And followed by, my pathway is filled with stepping stones to greater good. My pathway is filled with stepping stones to greater good. I learn and I grow from every experience. So I have another idea for you to reflect on for just a moment. What would it feel like to trust the process of life completely? To know that everything in your life is unfolding in perfect order? What would that feel like? Let yourself imagine. And know that that's exactly what's happening. Everything's unfolding in divine order. The next point I'd like to mention is knowing that we are one with this one energy, that you are an individualization of this one energy. We understand that because of it, you're one with it. Because of this, you're an individualization of this energy. You're naturally abundant. You're fully equipped. Raymond Charles Barker would say you're the whole bit. Knowing that we're one with this energy completely one with it, that there's an infinite well of love within you, operating through you, we proclaim, we affirm, I deserve the best, and I accept the best now. That's a great affirmation. I deserve the best, and I accept the best now. Again, knowing your connection with Source, you might say to yourself, I deserve the best, and I accept the best now. Louise teaches us that our beliefs about things like money and abundance shape our financial experiences. She reminds us to examine these beliefs and release any that are limiting. Old ideas that might have come from childhood, like money doesn't grow on trees, or there's not enough, or that I don't deserve it. I don't deserve wealth, I don't deserve this, that, or the other thing. Ideas like, I'll never get ahead, there's not enough, or that I don't belong, or I don't belong here. Any of those types of ideas we want to actively work on releasing. Instead, we want to replace those beliefs with affirmations of deservingness, affirmations of abundance, new thought principles. And the reason being, abundance is Spirit's natural state. When we align ourselves with this truth, we're one with Spirit. Spirit is abundant. When we align ourselves with this truth, when we know that we are one with abundance, we're going to open up channels of prosperity so that they can flow into our lives. We're actually approaching the ocean of life with the bigger bucket that Louise would talk about in her book. Here's a little exercise. You can write it down or think about it, make a mental note. Any ideas that you had about money or prosperity that might be blocking you from your past, could be from your childhood or anywhere else. Maybe you went through a terrible financial time and it's somewhat scarred you. This is the time for you to take a look at any beliefs, any blocks. This is the time to let them go. Now I want to go to one more area, I think, for today's lesson. I want us to think about our bodies in terms of self-healing. And this is where Louise encouraged us to listen always to your body, because your body will always let you know what's going on. In the same way Louise would say, deep in the center of your being is this infinite well of love and activity and intelligence. Your Spirit is in you. Your body is also always communicating with you. And Louise suggests that we listen to our body's messages. She teaches us the body is always in communication within you. So we want to take that pause always and listen. Every single ache, tension, symptom is a message asking us to pay attention. The body also is a mirror of our inner thoughts and beliefs. In religious science, we recognize that the mind and the body are deeply connected. Again, healing begins when we listen. When we listen with love and align our thoughts with health and wholeness. When we learn to lovingly take care of our bodies. And here's a little exercise you can do now, or you can do it anytime. Assuming you're taking a few pauses every day, everyone, take a few moments to quietly listen to your body and ask yourself, what is my body asking for right now? Maybe it's more sleep. Maybe it's more different food. What is my body asking for right now? When you ask questions of Spirit, you'll get answers, by the way. Next question to ask yourself, how can I honor its needs with love and care? So you can ask yourself that. How can I honor its needs with love and care? And after you get your answers, which you will get, you can affirm, I lovingly care for my body and it responds to me with vibrant health. I lovingly care for my body and it responds to me with vibrant health. So now, as we close our beautiful and sacred time together, I'd like to open the floor to hear from all of you. Always I want to know what came up for you, because when I do these lessons, I know it touches people in different ways. So what came up for you during this lesson? And let us know what inspired you to connect with us. Your presence and your comments enrich the entire group, the community. So we'd love to have you share for a moment or two. So now the cameras are turned over to you. Thank you, one and all.